Question 1. The table shows the heights of 6 mountains. Write down the name of the highest of these mountains. If we look down the list, the highest number in this list is 8,516, which is this one here, L-Hots. Part B, write the number 8,188 to the nearest hundred. This is the hundreds column, and because it's an 8 in the tens column, the 8 will round the 1 up to a 2, so it's 8,200. Part C, write the number 7,428 in words. That's here. The mountain K3 is 8,051 metres high. Write 8,051 in figures. Well, we've got 8,000s, there are no hundreds, and 51 is 5 tens and 1 unit. It's really important you put the extra 0 in for the 0 hundreds. There's 8,051. Question 2. Liz asked 20 people to name the flavour of chocolate they like best. And here are all her results. Complete the frequency table. Well, here's the tally section. As I've gone through them, I've crossed them off and tallied them in the chart. And then the frequency is how many the tally adds up to. So 4, 8, 3, 3 and 2. You must get up to 4 of these correct for 1 mark and the 5th one correct for both marks. Part B. On the grid, draw a suitable chart or diagram. I've chosen to do a bar chart. With a bar chart, you must leave a gap between each bar, and all the bars must be the same width. Up the frequency up the side must all be equally spaced starting from 0, and then all the bars must also be labelled as well, so and all at the correct height. So for 3 marks, the bars must be the same width with gaps for 1 mark, the heights of the bars must all be correct for the 2nd mark, and the frequency and the x-axis must be labelled correctly. Question 3, work out 56 times 1,000. Well, that will be 56,000. 600 take away 324. I've partitioned this. I've taken 300 off first to get me down to 300. Then taken 20 off down to 280. Then taken 4 off to get me down to 276. A quarter of 24, it means divide it by 4. So 24 divided by 4 is 6. Work out this using BIDMAS. So we need to do the multiplication first. So 4 times 5 is 20. Add the 9 is 29. And again, work this one out using BIDMAS. BIDMAS says do division first. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 18 take away 5 is 13. Notice the numbers stay in the same order they were in the question. The 18 must stay first there. Question 4. Sarah saved £254 coins. She puts the pound coins into bags, and there are £20 coins in each full bag. Sarah's going to take her full bags to the bank, and she's going to take 5 full bags of coins each day. Sarah wants to go to the bank as few days possible. On how many days will she need to go? Well, 254 divided by 20 is 12, remainder 14. So that means she'll have 12 full bags, and then a bag with only 14 coins left. So that means on the first day she can take 5, the second day she can take 5, on the third day she can take the 2 full bags and the one that's remained with the remainder of 14 in. So she'll still need to go for 3 days. Question 5, write down the letter of a shape. Very important the word in there, A shape, only one of them. That has exactly 1 line of symmetry. Now you've got 2 choices here. You can either have B, which has got a line of symmetry there, or C, which has got a line of symmetry there. That's the only 2 with 1 line of symmetry. Either of those is fine. Question 2, 2 of these shapes have rotational symmetry of order 2 and no lines of symmetry. Write down the letters of these shapes. So rotational symmetry is when you turn it through a full circle, it will look the same twice. So that is shape E, because that's got no lines of symmetry, but it will look the same when it's upside down and back at the beginning. And also G, again when it's upside down and back at the beginning, they look the same. Shape D is a polygon. Write down its name. Well, it has 6 sides, so it's a hexagon. Shape E is a quadrilateral. That means it's 4-sided shape. Write down its mathematical name. That's a parallelogram. Question 6. Simplify m plus n plus m. That would be 3m. 9e take away 2e is 7e. And 5 lots of 3g would be 15g. Question 7. Using this formula, work out the value of L when A is 5 and C is 8. Well, that means do 3 lots of A, so 3 lots of 5, and 2 lots of C, so 2 lots of 8. So 3 5s are 15, 2 8s are 16, add them together, get 31. Kirsty buys some buns. She buys X packs of currant buns and Y boxes of iced buns. There are 6 currant buns in a pack and 8 iced buns in a box. Write down an expression in terms of X and Y for the total number of buns. Well, if we do 6 times the number of packs of currant buns and 8 times the number of packs of boxes of ice buns, then that'll give us a total. So it's just 6x plus 8y, because there are 6 in each packet of that and 8 in each box of that. Question 8. Becky wants to buy a table and 6 chairs. 3 shops sell the same types of table and chairs. Becky wants to buy the table and 6 chairs from the same shop. That's very important. We can't mix and match here. She wants to pay the lowest total price. Which shop should she get the table and 6 chairs from? Well, I've split my working up into the 3 different shops. At the first one, the table is £120. I can get 4 chairs for another £120, and then the 2 remaining chairs will cost me £40 each. If I add those up, that's £320. At Fred's Furniture, it's £120 for the table, and then the 6 chairs are £32 each. So to do that, I did 6 times 30 is 180, 6 times 2 is 12, add them up, that's 192. So the 120 add the 192 is 312. At Tables and Chairs, it's £120 for the table, but 2 chairs are £70. So 2 chairs, 4 chairs, 6 chairs, I need to pay that 3 times. And add those up, I get £330. It's really important you write this sentence at the end. Fred's Furniture is the cheapest, because it's an asterisk question. So 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks, and that's the 4th mark there. Question 9. David is going to buy a cooker. The cooker has a price of £320. He pays a 15% deposit. How much does he have? Does he pay as a deposit? So 10% of 320 is 32. 5% is 16. And if we add those two together, we get 15% is £48. Question 10. Mila has a fair 6-sided spinner. The sides of the spinner are numbered 222, 335. Mila spins the spinner once. Which number is least likely? Well, least likely means the one that's got the least amount of numbers in. So the answer is 5. From the following list, choose the word that best describes the likelihood of getting a 2. Well, there are mostly 2s, so the answer would be likely. Write down the probability that the spinner will land on 3. There are 2 3s out of the 6 numbers altogether, so it's 2 6ths. There was a second mark for cancelling this down to 1/3. Question 11. Susan and Joe are going on holiday. They can take 2 cases onto the plane free of charge, so long as they add up to no more than 40 kilograms. Susan's is 22.8 and Joe's is 19.5. Can they take it? Now notice part A is an asterisk question, so you must write something at the end of this one. So if we add these two together, write them with the decimal places above each other, tens, units, tenths. 8 and 5 is 13, 3 down carry the 1. 2 and 9 is 11, add the 1 is 12, 2 down carry the 1. 2, 1 and 1 is 4. So they add up to 42.3 kilograms, so no they can't. Susan and Joe want to be at the airport for 2:30. It will take an hour and 20 minutes to drive there, and a total of 30 minutes to park and go into the airport terminal. What's the least time they can leave home? Well, I've added up the 1 hour 20 and the 30 minutes to give me 1 hour 50. And if I take 1 hour 50 away from that, then take 1 hour off, it gets me to 1:30. Another 30 minutes gets down to 1 o'clock, and then I'll have 20 minutes left over. That will get me down to 12:40. Question 12. Harry is going to plant some bean plants in his garden. The garden is in the shape of a rectangle measured 3 metres by 2 metres. Harry will plant the first bean plant 20 centimetres from the edge of the garden as shown in the diagram. Harry will plant the bean plants in rows. Each row will have a space of 20 centimetres between, and the space between rows will be 20 centimetres also. Work out the greatest number of beans that Harry can plant. Well, if we do 3 metres divided by the 20 centimetre gaps, that would be 15 seeds in each row. However, if we did that, the last seed would be on the border there. So the last seed can't be planted. So we need to take 1 off that. So you can fit 14 seeds in each row. If we do 2 metres divided by 20, it means we can fit 10 rows going up. However, the last row again will be on the border along here. So you can actually only fit 9 in that column. So 9 times 14 is 126 seeds. Question 13. You can use this graph to change between miles and kilometres. The distance from Paris to London is 280 miles, and the distance from Paris to Amsterdam is 500 kilometres. Is Paris further from London, or is Amsterdam further? Well, there are several ways of doing this question. However, you must use this graph to convert one of these into miles or kilometres. I've chosen to convert the 280 miles into kilometres. To do that, obviously 280 isn't on here, so I chose to go to 28 and read off that is 44 kilometres, and then times that by 10. So 280 miles will be 440 kilometres. Therefore, Amsterdam is the furthest from Paris. Again, it's an asterisk question, so there is a mark for that last sentence. You could have gone to 70 and times it by 4, for example. There were lots and lots of ways of doing that one. Question 14. On the grid, draw an enlargement of the shape, the shaded shape by a scale factor of 3. Notice there's no centre of enlargement on this one, so you can draw it anywhere that you like. The bottom was 3 across, so that will now be 9 across. This was 2, so this will be 6. And that was 1, so that will be 3. Now the diagonal line is a bit more difficult. I chose to measure this one out and then just join that one up at the end. So this one is 2 across and 2 up. So to times that by 3, 2 across, 2 up, 2 across, 2 up, 2 across, 2 up. It gets me to there for that diagonal. And then I can just join the last line in. Question 15. The stem and leaf diagram gives information about the heights in centimetres of the tomato plants in a garden. How many tomato plants are there in the garden? Well, each number represents a plant. So if we add all those up, we get to 18 plants. Write down the height of the tallest tomato plant. This will be the tallest tomato plant. If we look at the key, then that means 56. Work out the range. Range is biggest, take the smallest. So 56 is the biggest, 23 is the smallest. Take those away, we get 33. Question 16. Here are the first 4 terms in a number sequence. Casey thinks that the number 34 is in this sequence. Is she correct? Well, it's going up in 3s. So you can either continue to go up in 3s and see if it is, or you can use the nth term rule, which I've done. So if it's going up in 3s, it must be the 3n, so 3 times tables. But the 3 times tables would start at 3. Ours starts at 5, so we need to add 2. If we put this in, we know that the 10th number will be 3 times 10 plus 2, which is 32. And the 11th number will be 3 times 11th plus 2, which is 35. So no, she's wrong. It skips it out because it goes 32, 35. Question 17. The diagram shows a cuboid. Work out the volume. Well, to work out the volume of a cuboid, you find the area of the cross-section times by how far back it goes. So 20 times 5 times 7. 20 times 5 is 100. Times 7 is 700 centimetres cubed. There is a mark for writing centimetres cubed because it's not on the answer line. Now, question 18, the photocopying for this paper for my students was a little bit out. If you measure that distance there, it's actually 11 centimetres on this paper. On the actual exam paper, that should have been 12 centimetres to scale. So it would have been a little bit easier on the actual exam. To do it this way, though, if it was 11, every centimetre is 100 kilometres. So 11 times 100 is 1100. Divide that by 300. It's 3 remainder 200. Now 200 out of 300 is 2/3 of an hour. And 2/3 of an hour is 40 minutes, so it's 3 hours 40 minutes. However, on the actual exam that should have been 12. So 12 times 100 is 1200. Divided by 300, you'd have got 4 hours exactly. Okay, so it was a little bit easier on the actual exam. Question 19. Miss Martins is organising a school play. The total cost of putting on the play is £960. The school pays £300 of this cost. Miss Martin sells tickets to pay the rest of the cost. She sells 500 tickets at £4 each. Miss Martin has enough money to pay the rest of the costs and to give all the money left over to charity. Work out how much money she gives to charity. Well, 500 tickets at £4 each is £2,000. The cost of the play was £960, but the school pays £300. So we take that off. That's £660 that she has to pay. If we knock that off the price of the tickets that she's made, that'll give us £1,340 that can give to charity. Question 20. There are only silver cars, blue cars and red cars in a car park at Allerton School and Bragdon School. The pie chart shows information about the number of these cars. What fraction of the cars at Allerton School are blue? Give it the fraction in its simplest form. Well, if we look at Allerton School, the blue cars is 150 degrees out of 360. So we can write that as a fraction like that for 1 mark. To cancel it down, I've divided by 10 first, and then I can divide that by 3 to give me 5/12. There are 12 red cars in the car park at Bragdon School. How many silver cars are in the car park? Well, we are told that there are 12 red cars. The red car stands for 60 degrees. So if 60 degrees is 12 cars, 120 degrees will be 24 cars, 180 degrees will be 36 cars, and then we are 30 degrees away. 30 is half of 60, so we can half that. 30 degrees must be 6 cars. Add that on, we get 42 cars altogether. Part C, in which car park are there more silver cars? Allerton School, Bragton School, or not enough information? Well, we do know how many cars are in each section for Bragton School, or we can work that out using this section. But we are not told how many cars are in the car park for Allerton, or for any of those sections, so it's impossible to work out. There could be 1 million cars in there, we just don't know. So the answer is we don't have enough information. So there's not enough information, and I've written, you do not know how many cars are in Allerton's car park altogether, so we can't do that. Question 21. Suha has a full 600ml bottle of wallpaper remover. She's going to mix some of the wallpaper remover with water. Here's the information on the label. Suha is going to make 750ml of water. How many millimetres of wallpaper remover should she use? Well, a quart of 600, because it tells us to use a quarter of the wallpaper remover, is 150ml. And 150ml will mix with 4,500ml of water. However, we only want 750. So to get from 4,500 to 750, we need to divide by 6. I worked it out by doing 750, 1,500, 3,000, 4,500. So that would be 6. So therefore we need to divide the other side by 6. 150 divided by 6 will be 25 millilitres. Question 22. ABC is parallel to EFGH. GB is equal to GF. Angle ABF is 65 degrees. Work out the size of the angle marked X. Now, that sounds quite complicated, but all that information is on the diagram originally. All right. The first step that I made was the angle BFG, so this one here, is 65 degrees because it is alternate to the original 65 degrees ABF. So that was my first mark. For the second mark, I also know that FBG, so this angle here, is 65 degrees because the triangle BFG, this one here in the middle, is isosceles. We know that because we were told that these two sides are the same length. And we know that base angles are equal in an isosceles triangle. So these two must be the same. Step 3, I can then work out that angle BGF, this one here, is 50 degrees because angles in a triangle add up to 180. So 180 take away 65, take away another 65 is 50. And finally, X will therefore be 130 because angles on a straight line add up to 180. So if that's 130 and that's 50, that will make up the full 180. Question 23. Jack wants to find out how far people live from their nearest supermarket. He uses this question on a questionnaire. How far do you live from your nearest supermarket? 0 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. Write down 2 things wrong with this question. The problem here is 1, the boxes overlap. So if you live 2 away, then you wouldn't know which box to tick. And the other problem is, I don't know whether that's 2 miles, 2 kilometres or whatever. So there are no units on the option boxes. So those are the 2 problems. Jack also wants to find out how often people go shopping. Write a question Jack could use in his questionnaire to find out how often people go shopping. So how often means how many times. So how many times do you go shopping? And the mark is for writing a time frame. So I've written per week. You could do per day or per month or per year, whichever one you want. And then for the option boxes, they must cover all possible options and there must be at least 3 possible option boxes. So I've done 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and I've done a 5 plus to cover all the rest. Question 24. Factorise 3e squared plus 5e. Well, nothing goes into 3 and 5, so we can't pull a number out, but there is an e in both of them. So if I pull e out of there to factorise it, I would need 3e to get back to 3e squared. I need a 5 to get back to 5e. Part B, solve that. Well, whenever you've got brackets, I would expand them first. So 7 times k is 7k. 7 times minus 3 is minus 21. And this side will just stay as 3k minus 5. When you've got unknowns on both sides, I subtract the smallest amount off both sides. So the smallest amount is 3k. So if you take 3k off both sides, I get 4k minus 21 equals minus 5. I then need to add 21 to get rid of this. So 4k would be 16. And then divide by 4 to get 1k, k is 4. Part C, make A the subject of the formula. That means make A on its own. So A is adding 1 to it, and then we are dividing it by 2. So to undo that, we need to times by 2. So we get 2f equals A plus 1. And then we need to take 1 off. So 2f minus 1 equals A. Question 25, express 180 as a product of prime factors. You can do this using a factor tree. So I've split it up into 18 times 10, which can then be written as 3 times 6. 3 is prime, so I'm going to circle that one. And 6 can be written as 2 times 3. They're both prime, so circle those. And 10 can be split up into 2 times 5. Again, they're both prime. So you'll see that it's 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. And I've written that as 2 squared times 3 squared times 5. Question 26. The diagram shows the plan of a floor. The area of the floor is 138 metres squared. Work out the value of x. The difficulty here is that we don't have this side here, which we really need. But to work out the area of this L shape, we need to split it into 2 rectangles. You could have split it across that way if you wanted, but I've decided to split it that way. So the area of this rectangle here will be 8 times x, which is 8x. And the area of this one, well, this distance here is 11, because 8 add 3. But this distance here is 15 minus whatever x is. So we need to do 15 minus x times 11. And if we multiply that out, we get 165 minus 11x. If we add these two together, we get 8x add 165 minus 11x, and we could put that equal to 138. 8x take away 11x is minus 3x, plus 165 is 138, done nothing with that yet. If I take 165 off both sides, I get minus 3x is equal to minus 27. And then divide both sides by minus 3, I get x is 9.